When you receive an EFAS flash flood notification, it is because EFAS has predicted a certain probability of extreme precipitation with possible flash flooding in your area. And this is done in terms of administrative region. However, EFAS notifications are not sent automatically. It is actually officers on duty from the EFAS Dissemination Center that check EFAS forecast twice a day and decide whether there are events that fulfill the criteria for sending EFAS flash flood notifications to the relevant partners. These criteria have to do with the location and size of the catchment, the timing and magnitude of the event. If we start with the location and size of the catchment needs to be within the EFAS conditions of access and have a drainage area less than 2,000 square kilometers. Regarding the timing, the start of the event needs to be less than 48 hours from the forecast time. And regarding the magnitude, at least 30% probability of exceeding the 5-year return period. If we look at one of these flash flood notifications, we can see that first, there is information about the location. Second, on the timing, in this case of the peak. And then there is some extra information that can be confused as being the exceedance probability of the flood, but it is instead the percent of the affected area, so the administrative region, susceptible to landslides. We will get more information on that in a minute. You might have noticed that the criteria for issuing flash flood notifications do not include any concerns about the affected area, the landslide susceptibility, the hazard level, and so on. These are factors that are not considered and should be therefore checked after you receive such a notification. And this can be done within EFAS. Additionally, it's also important to check whether this forecast, this notification is supported by other systems such as national or local warning service, or even your local knowledge. If we look on the information that can be gathered from the EFAS system, it has to do with information on landslide susceptibility, soil moisture, affected area, or even hourly and daily accumulated precipitation at the beginning of the forecast. Depending on your area of responsibility, you might be more interested in some or all this information. So get what is most interesting from you from here. First off, landslide susceptibility can be found under the static layers on the EFAS map viewer and summarizes or shows what's the susceptibility to landslide for the entire EFAS domain, so that you might have an idea on what consequences or impacts can become from heavy rainfall events. These range are classified from very low susceptibility to very high, and they are summarized in the EFAS flash flood notifications in terms of the administrative region for which the notification has been sent for. Second, soil moisture. The soil moisture is found under the initial conditions layers and will have an impact on whether the water that falls as precipitation will generate direct runoff, surface runoff, or if it will infiltrate and therefore delay the response of the catchment. So if the soil moisture is very high, the water that falls will not be able to infiltrate and generate a faster response that might enhance the risk for flash flooding in the area due to extreme precipitation. There is also specific layers for the flash flood products, for the flash flood events. And the first one of those is what's called in the EFAS map viewer, the ERIC affected area. ERIC is the name of the model, the system generating these flash flood forecasts. And you can see that all the catchments that are expected to a certain extent to be affected by flash flood are highlighted in this layer. The affectation is also classified between moderate, high, and extreme, depending on which return period is expected to be overcome. So the moderate for a 2-year return period, high for 5-year, and extreme for 20-year. You can combine this layer with the layer on administrative regions to see within the administrative region for which the flash flood notification has been sent, which percentage of this area might be affected by a more extreme or moderate risk for flash flooding. Finally, I'm going to talk briefly on the hourly daily accumulated precipitation. These layers are also to be found on the flash flood layers on the EFAS map viewer. And here I'm showing the 24-hour accumulation. So that's the precipitation that will be accumulated in the first 24 hours of the forecast. So you might get an idea on the amount of rain to be expected, and thus contributing to the general risk for flash flooding. You can even visualize this on an hourly basis, and this is shown as an animation. So it might give you a more specific idea on exactly when this precipitation is expected and when to expect as well the first consequences or the first reaction. Additionally, as I was discussing before, it is very important to always compare the EFAS forecast with external information sources, be it national or local forecasting and warning services. In this case here, I'm showing Meteo Alarm, which is a summary of all the warnings in Europe from the national services, but also you might have more detailed information from your national service. For instance, the Norwegian service has very good information on landslides, on flash flooding due to heavy rain, and so on. Something else that's very important is your local knowledge. Always use your local knowledge to put these EFAS forecast, EFAS notifications in perspective. How does your catchments look like? Is there any protection to flooding? Is there any additional risks that are very local? Your knowledge is very important to make the most adequate decisions out of the combined information from EFAS and additional sources of information. Finally, I'm going to talk a bit on after the event has passed. So you've received a flash flood notification. The event has taken place or maybe not. So it's good to provide feedback to EFAS so that in the future we can improve the service. We can make these notifications more relevant, more applicable to you. So in the notification itself, there is a link that you can click on, and it will direct you to the EFAS map viewer and this feedback providing form. And in terms of feedback to EFAS flash flood notifications, at the moment, we are only asking for a very specific information, very short. So it will take no time at all filling this form. So the only thing we require is for you to tell us if a flood event was observed in connection to this flash flood notification. It's a simple yes/no question, and then you have some free space to write any additional information that you might want to share with us regarding this event. But that's the only thing we require for flash flood notifications, so that we hopefully will be able to improve and make this system even more relevant into the future.